Welcome to The Hidden Truth. We're still pretty new to YouTube, and we're looking to expand our channel. If you enjoy our videos, please consider sharing them on social media or other UFO communities. Your support means everything to us.
This is a compilation of 8 UFO sightings over or near Australia from 1920 to 1973. Each incident is short and to the point. 1. 1920. As Amelia disappeared in the Bass Strait. Official Australian investigation into unidentified flying objects goes back as far as 1920. According to researcher Paul Norman, when the ship USS Amelia disappeared, at a time when strange unexplained lights were being reported around the entrance to the Bass Strait, a search aircraft sent to investigate the lights also disappeared and never returned. The Bass Strait area has featured in a number of mysterious cases, most notably the disappearance of the young pilot Frederick Valentic in 1978. 2. 1942. RAF pilot with UFO near Tasman. During the summer of 1942, when an RAF pilot was on flying patrol off the Tasman Peninsula late one afternoon, following reports by fishermen of strange lights on the sea at night in Bass Strait. At 5:50 p.m. an unidentified object came out of a cloud bank, which the pilot described as a singular airfoil of glistening bronze color, about 150 feet in length and 50 feet in diameter, with a dome on top that reflected sunlight. The UFO flew alongside the plane for a few minutes, then suddenly turned away at a hell of a pace. It made another turn, then dived straight into the ocean, throwing up a regular whirlpool of waves. 3. 1944. Beaufort bomber and the UFO in the Bass Strait. The second sighting took place one night in February 1944, when at around 2:30 a.m., a Beaufort bomber flying at 4,500 feet over the Bass Strait was joined by an unidentified object, described as a dark shadow, with a flickering light and flame coming out of the rear. The object appeared to be only 100 to 150 feet away, and stayed with the plane for 18 to 20 minutes, during which time both radio and direction-finding instruments failed. Eventually, the object shot off at about 3 times the speed of the bomber, 235 miles per hour at that time. Reports indicate that no enemy action was ever confirmed in the Bass Strait, although a total of 17 aircraft went missing in that area during World War II. 4. 1954. Navy Hawker Sea Fury and the UFOs. On August 31, 1954, a Navy Hawker Sea Fury aircraft was approached by 2 strange lights, with vague shapes underneath, 5,000 meters above Galbum, New South Wales. The pilot radioed Nora Naval Air Station and was informed that the objects were tracked on radar. The lights shot past the Sea Fury spinning at fantastic speed. So sensitive was the security ban on the incident that not even the Minister for Navy was advised about it at the time. Although UFO files were initially classified secret, this sighting was rated top secret, and details would never have been known for many years had the story not been leaked to the media 5 months after the incident. That same year, the Minister for Air, William McMahon, contracted the RAF formally to investigate UFO reports. 5. 1957. The Maralinga case in South Australia. An extraordinary eyewitness account of a UFO seen hovering over the former British nuclear test site at Maralinga, South Australia, was given to the British researcher Jenny Randalls by a Royal Air Force corporal stationed there at the time. Following nuclear detonations in September and October of 1957, an unidentified object was seen hovering over the airfield by the corporal and some colleagues. described as a magnificent sight. The craft was of a silver-blue color, with a metallic luster. The corporal said that the object had a line of windows or portholes along its edge, and that it was seen so distinctly that metallic plating could be made out on its surface. An air traffic control officer is also alleged to have seen the object, and checks with Alice Springs and Edinburgh airfields revealed that there were no aircraft in the vicinity at the time. No photographs were taken, the RAF corporal said, because the top security status of the base area meant that all cameras had to be locked away. The UFO departed swiftly and silently after about 15 minutes. I swear to you as a practicing Christian, this was no dream, no illusion, no fairy story, but a solid craft of metallic construction. The witness told Ginny Randalls. 6. 1960. USAF pilot UFO sighting near Tasmania. On November 15, 1960, about 50 kilometers from Cressy, Tasmania, a U.S. Air Force SAR B-57 aircraft operating out of RAFE Sale encountered a UFO, and the following is the pilot's official report. Approximately 10:40 hours while flying on a mission track 15 miles north of Launceston, my navigator called out an aircraft approaching to our left and slightly lower. Our altitude at this time was 40,000 feet, TS of 350 knots, heading of 340 degrees. I spotted the object and immediately commented to the navigator that it was not an aircraft, but looked more like a balloon. We judged its altitude to be approximately 35,000 feet, heading 140 degrees, and its speed extremely high. From a previous experience, I would say its closing rate would have been in excess of 800 knots. We observed this object for 5 or 7 seconds before it disappeared under the left wing. Since it was unusual in appearance, I immediately banked to the left for another look, but neither of us could locate it. The color of the object was nearly translucent, somewhat like that of a poached egg. There were no sharp edges, but rather fuzzy and undefined. The size was approximately 70 feet in diameter, and it did not appear to have any depth. 7. 1965. Ansatana sighting near Brisbane. On May 28, 1965 at about 3:25 hours, an Ansatana DC-6 Airliner, registration VHINH, was paced by an unidentified flying object. During a flight from Brisbane to Port Moresby, New Guinea, Captain John Barker described the object as oblate in shape with exhaust gases emanating from it, and related that it paced the airliner for 10 to 15 minutes, witnessed by the co-pilot and a stewardess. The sighting took place in the vicinity of Bougainville Reef, off the Queensland coast, and Captain Barker radioed details to Townsville Ground Control, adding that he was taking photographs of the object. On landing at Port Moresby, Barker was informed that he was not to have the film processed in New Guinea, but was to return with it to Australia. When he eventually arrived at Brisbane, Captain Barker was flown directly to Canberra, where both the film and the flight recorder were confiscated. The source of this story is William Moore, duty officer of the Department of Civil Aviation at Townsville, who was in radio contact with Captain Barker when he relayed details of the sighting, or passed on the information to John Mescal, a detective with the Criminal Investigation Branch, who had been on duty at the Townsville Control Tower at the time. Mescal stated that Thor had been forbidden to discuss the incident, but added to this latter part is only hearsay and came from Moore, who then told me that the chief of DC Department of Civil Aviation came to Townsville and took the 12-hour tapes from the DC Control Tower with the full conversation between Noor and the pilot, and Noor was told to shut his mouth about the whole thing, under threat of his job. The Directorate of Air Force Intelligence in Canberra denied in a letter to Peter Norris that any such incident had taken place. This is the first information we have received of the reported sighting, and therefore have no record of the incident. Perhaps you may care to follow the matter up with the Department of Civil Aviation, but as it is normal practice for that department to refer all sightings to the RAF, it seems most unlikely that they had it reported. Peter Norris accordingly wrote to the DC and received the following reply. We asked our Brisbane office to check whether air traffic control personnel at Townsville had any knowledge of the reported sightings. On the 28th of May, no persons on duty that day have any recollection of unusual communications, and we have not received any formal incident report by any airline captain operating in the vicinity of Townsville that day. Unfortunately, our communications recording tapes are reused after a holding period of 90 days, and we therefore cannot use this source to confirm belief that there were no unusual communications through departmental facilities. But according to Stan Sears, the distinguished researcher Dr. J. Allen Hynek obtained a copy of Captain Barker's official statement to the Australian authorities from the US Air Force via the Australian Department of Air, which states in part, I had always scoffed at these reports, but I saw it. We all saw it. It was under intelligent control, and it was certainly no known aircraft. There is no reference to this remarkable sighting in the RAF Summary of Unidentified Aerial Sightings reported to the Department of Air, 1960-1965, a revealing omission indeed. 8. 1973. UFO incident at Northwest Cape. On October 25, 1973, 2 U.S. Navy personnel observed a UFO hovering near the restricted Naval Communication Station at Northwest Cape, Western Australia, which is used by the National Security Agency, in conjunction with Australia's Defence Signals Directorate. The Department of Defence RAF report relating to the incident was acquired a few years later by Bill Chalker, who was surprised that such a report was made available to a civilian researcher. At about 19:15 hours that day, Lieutenant Commander M sighted a large black, airborne object approximately 8 kilometers to the west at an estimated altitude of 600 meters. After about 20 to 25 seconds, the craft accelerated at unbelievable speed and disappeared to the north, he reported. There was no noise or exhaust. The second witness, Fire Captain Bill L., described the sighting as follows. At 19:20 hours, I was called by the POW to close the officers' club. I proceeded toward the club in the fire department pickup 488, when my attention was drawn to a large black object, which at first I took to be a small cloud formation due west of Area B, the location of the high-frequency transmitter. On alighting from pickup 488, I stood for several minutes and watched this black sphere hovering. The sky was clear and pale green-blue. No clouds were about whatsoever. The object was completely stationary except for a halo around the center, which appeared to be either revolving or pulsating. After I had stood watching it for approximately 4 minutes, it suddenly took off at tremendous speed and disappeared in an orderly direction in a few seconds. I consider this object to have been approximately 10 meters in diameter, hovering at 300 meters over the hills due west of the base. It was black, maybe due to my looking in the direction of the setting sun. No lights appeared on it at any time. My take. These incidents are all pretty good. I see a trend here and have come to a conclusion. I will not be flying any aircraft over or near the base Strait anytime soon. Resources. Above top secret. Timothy Good, 1988.